Hello there, kia ora. One of the things I love about the Coromandel is the fact that the incumbent mayor told a sovereign citizen to go fuck themselves in official correspondence. To me, that sums up the pragmatic approach that we find in Thames Coromandel, where you've got a regular population who has to provide infrastructure for a swollen growth in numbers over summer, while also being in the direct line of susceptibility of more common and intense weather events caused by climate change. But climate change denial is something that pops up occasionally in this red flag list for the area. Now, quick reminder again, these are my red flags, which means that they're not going to be red flags for everyone, which is why you should research all of your candidates and see which ones share your goals and views. And most importantly, none of that's going to matter a bit if you don't fucking vote this year. So make sure you've got that all sorted. Right, let's kick off with Steve Hart of Thames, not the other poor soul who shares a name and also lives in the wider community. This Steve Hart is running for mayor and the Thames ward and the Thames community board. He's well known in disinformation circles. He was the Thames Coromandel candidate for New Zealand Loyal at the last general election, and the one before that, he was the candidate for the Outdoor and Freedom Party. He's appeared on Voices for Freedom propaganda channel Reality Check Radio. He's pushed content from Robert Kennedy Jr., Andrew Tate's Manosphere stuff, pro-Russian propaganda, the New Zealand Centre for Political Research, anti-Muslim content. He falls for scams and was the idiot who sent me, Hamilton City Councillor Andrew Bidder's manifesto, not realising the difference between reply and reply all. And Bidder actually backed up Hart's attempt to stop the demolition of an unconsented building on one of his properties. You've also got Peter Revel running for mayor. He's being promoted at the moment by Voices for Freedom linked groups on Telegram. They're saying he's the one that you should vote for. Patrick Kerr is sharing content from Hamilton-based disinformation aligned group Better Hamilton, the NZCPR, and calling for a rates cap, which will ensure the mediocrity he claims he no longer wants by limiting council's ability to fund growth. You've got Jim or JF Sabritsky. He's been known to fall for Facebook chain letters and wanted to know if COVID was a Nazi-like lie being repeated so often it became truth. In Mercury Bay, you've got Tony Brilcevic. He was the Thames Coromandel candidate for Billy TK's Public Party when it then joined up with Jamie Lee Ross's Advance Party in 2020. He also wants a rates cap. And he follows a number of so-called freedom-linked groups on various social channels like Reignite Democracy, NZ Farmers for Freedom, Counterspin Media, Keith Bennett, NZ Parliament Protest Groundswell, and COVID Plan B amongst them. You've got Fleming Rasmussen, he's just another rates cap fan, but you could ask him at one of those Meet the Candidate events what it was like dealing with Caroline Hobman, because they were both on the 50 Younger Residents and Ratepayers Association at the same time. We'll get to her soon, but those residents and ratepayer associations were set up as targets by Voices for Freedom to either infiltrate or take over, so he would be a fascinating one to talk to about how that worked in his case. You've also got Peter H. Wood, who's claiming that David Seymour was right with the Treaty Principles Bill and called anything that allows the treaty enshrined prerogatives and subsequent redress apartheid. In fact, he's an avid letter writer to the Coromandel Informer on the topic. In the Thames ward, you've got Scott Bright, or Scotty, as he seems to be better known outside of Thames. He is so well known in disinformation circles. He's tied in with Groundswell and was their Auckland coordinator. He was the Democracy NZ candidate linked to Destiny's Freedom and Rights Coalition at one stage. He's called Climate Change a United Nations agenda. He's won awards from Voices for Freedom, and when he ran in the Port Waikato by-election, he stood aside and endorsed the Minister for Smoking from the Party of Bathroom Bills and COVID Conspiracies, Casey Costello. And he was at one point actually really deeply involved with setting up pseudo-law group challenging councils before falling out with Mark Quinn, where he called Quinn a controlled operation to undermine the freedom community. You got James Castle. He's used a couple of known disinformation dog whistles in his profile. Phrases like, "I'll make Coromandel great again." In the Mercury Bay Community Board, you've got Rob Davis. He shares Hobson's Pledge and other race-baiting content. Charlie Kirk, NZCPR, the New Nation Party, claims that we're losing our Christian moral compass. There's anti-trans and anti-rainbow content, stuff from Family First, the Anglo-Saxon, and New Zealand First. Caroline Hobman pushes groundswell disinformation about the Paris Climate Accord, anti-trans content, dog whistles about cash being king, New Zealand First stuff, and pseudo-law content around Hamilton's Shores Bird Park on Facebook. just on Facebook. She's also admitted to being a member of Voices for Freedom. In an email that got made public, she follows anti-science groups and social medias pages like NZDSOS. She's shared Chantal Baker's stuff on her campaign page in the past before she scrubbed it to make it palatable for voters as, what they do these days. And she's also part of that Voices for Freedom Council Watch group, the ones who sent the letter that demanded that the Prime Minister never ever enter an international pandemic treaty or it will make them very, very upset. You've also got somebody like Joanne Pullen, who has very little on Facebook publicly, but what she does have is already followed by anti-science group Fluoride Free New Zealand. Her content is getting likes from people within the disinformation community, and the only candidate that currently follows her is the aforementioned Caroline Hobman. On the Thames Community Board, you've got Adrian Catrins. He seems to be anti-fluoride and a member, although not an active one, of Challenging Councils, that pseudo-law group. He also apparently has a bit of a habit of saying things he probably shouldn't about those people out in public. The Thames Coromandel is a beautiful part of the country, okay? It has some of the most creative and talented people in Aotearoa, some of the top tourist destinations that we use to sell ourselves to the world, and a place called McGregor, where I can make terrible Star Wars puns, asking if Ewan McGregor. It seems like one of those places that has the highest proportion of candidates running who are tied in with emergency services, which actually goes to show that when it comes to serving their communities, the people of Thames Coromandel really understand what that means. This year, voting is done by postal ballot, with voting forms being sent out in early September. Thames Coromandel district is using first past the post, so you need to tick the candidates like a lot of other places, and the future of Māori wards is on the ballot here. So, to have your say, look at what other candidates have and to ask them about the issues. You can find out more information about your local elections on your council website, or visit my website, paultheotherone.com/algae25 for a whole bunch of resources. Hey, thanks for checking out today's video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe so you get more updates as we go along. We deal with these guys for the rest of the year.